Everyone give a round of applause for Jen, who's our keynote speaker.
All right. Hello, hello, hello. Hi. I am glad you're here. Look, I'm so fancy, I have 2 clickers. I'm driving that, and I'm driving my notes. We'll see if I don't drive over a cliff, because this is a little funky for me, so we're just gonna do it live. Screw it. All right, I am excited to be here. I hope you're excited to be here. But I have to admit something. You all are what is keeping me from going and having a beer with all the people I met today, new and old friends. And I'm trying not to be bitter about it, but I am kind of thirsty. So let's get through this together. First, the theme of this conference was Inspire and Connect. And hopefully you got inspired today by lots of talks, right? I mean, Tabo's thing was pretty awesome. That's hard to follow. But now I'm going to talk about Connect. So let's see. All right, it's working. Woohoo. Okay. By show of hands, I'm going to talk about some scenarios, and I want you to raise your hand if you agree. First one, you love networking. Raise your hand. I'm not seeing a lot of hands going up. Right. All right. How about if you're an introvert and you don't really love networking? Yep, there's some more hands going up there. I'm with you there. All right. And how about if you're not really sure how to enter a conversation, you're just not sure what to say, raise your hand. Like, you don't want to feel like a dork, so you're like, I'm not going to talk to anybody because I don't know what to say. Yeah, I got a few of you there, right? And just curious, who here has ever sent a DM, a direct message via LinkedIn to a stranger? Maybe you were asking for a job referral, or, let me pick your brain for 30 minutes. You've seen those messages, right? So I'm going to address these concerns and many more today. I'm going to talk about some tips on how to network or make connections with people better. Some tips for my introverts. I saw your hands up, so I got you. Some topics that are more interesting to chat about. And also, I'm going to tell you what the UX pros say when it comes to sliding into someone's DMs, what you should actually say or write or do when you send those messages. And I got a lot of data to support this. I did some research, and I want to share that toward the end. And I'm also going to talk about how to build better relationships. Click, click. Okay. I'm not going to do that every time, I promise. But you know what I'm not going to do today? This is not going to be a talk about AI. And you know what? It was actually kind of cool that every talk wasn't about AI today. I actually kind of like that. We talked a little bit, but this is not going to be how to get AI to do the networking for you. I mean, is that even a thing? I don't know. If it is, you're in the wrong place. I'm going to talk about making connections with humans via you being the human. Oh, really quickly, Tabo introduced me, but I'm Jen Blatz, Jennifer Blatz on LinkedIn. If I'm not connected to you already, please do. And I also, real quickly, I have a YouTube channel called BlatzChatz. So if you want a little more crazy than this little talk today, you can go over there and get some of that. But I have a secret. I don't love to network. I love the people I meet, the things I learn, the connections I make, and having a nice wide net of a network that I can tap into when I need help or need an answer. But I don't really love to network. Oh, and another secret, which is not really a secret, I like dogs. So you're going to see a lot of dogs in my presentation today. Sorry, cat lovers. Don't have you covered. Ned got you earlier with the cat stuff. This is dog talk. Okay, I'm guessing you're thinking, oh, Jen, I know how to network. Well, do you? Do you know everything about networking? I don't know. Maybe you do. Why don't you stick around, and we'll see if maybe you'll pick something up new today. And so I want to start off with a little bit of a bold stance. When it comes to connecting with others, this is my pro tip to you. Use the powers that be. Be funny, be approachable, and you know what? It's okay to be vulnerable. and avoid the powers of don't be. So don't be Mr. Smarty Pants or Mrs. Smarty Pants thinking you know it all. Don't be condescending, and don't make the conversation all about you. And obviously, don't be a jerk. Again, I mentioned this, I don't love the task of networking, so I want to flip it like this doggo's doing here. I want to flip that idea and reframe networking. And so let's think of it in a different way. Let's think of networking as helping others. Focus on how you might offer value and be helpful rather than what you need. Think of it as professional development. Treat networking as a skill you're trying to improve. And think of it as user research. I'm a researcher, can't help it. I'm going to have to plug a little research here. Think of it of how you are maybe trying to understand rather than how you want to pitch yourself. So instead of worrying about what to say, focus on what you want to learn from other people. Instead of trying, again, to sell yourself, focus on understanding the other people's experiences. Remember, you're not the only person who networking or connecting with others is awkward for. It really is awkward for everybody, I'm sorry. And events like this is an opportunity to do that, and I just want you to acknowledge and remember that it's really awkward for everyone, even the extroverts. And I know because I am one, and it's still awkward for me too. So I want to share some examples of where I successfully networked with others and made connections. Probably recognize this guy, yeah? Seen him today a couple times, yeah. So I met Yao years ago at a conference in the Netherlands called UX Insight, and we connected there, and look, I'm here today. Also, recognize this guy too? Recognize this? Kevin? Yeah? Cool. I really liked his content on YouTube and LinkedIn, and we connected talking digitally, virtually for a long time, and then we hopped on some Zoom calls, and he came and spoke for my group, UX Research and Strategy. But you know what? This weekend or whatever, this is the first time we're meeting in person after years of chatting virtually. Woo-hoo. And then finally this guy, Andy, remember him on the panel earlier today? He's sitting down there, no, don't talk about me. Andy and I used to follow each other on Twitter for years, and we always just chatted virtually and, again, never met. And then he built out a design and research team at a company, and he said, hey, want to join my team? I was like, yeah. What I'm trying to illustrate here is that these relationships were not from one DM. These were relationships over time, virtually or in person, but a lot of times I didn't meet these folks for years. I want to illustrate that the value of getting that network and sustaining and building the relationships with these folks. Okay, introverts, back to you. I see you, but sometimes I don't hear you. Now, I know you probably think, oh, I'm an introvert, so I get a free pass from networking. No, you don't. You do not get a free pass. And I know that the thought of networking can be terrifying. So I'm going to talk about some tactics that you can use so that you don't freak out when you have to network with somebody. The first one is inside your mind, not out loud. When you're having a one-on-one conversation or a group conversation, somebody asks a question, to 3. Just take a moment and pause. And why this is really valuable is it does 3 things. It gives you time to formulate a thought. And if there's others involved in the conversation, people hate awkward silence. So somebody else is probably going to jump in and answer first. So you bought yourself some time, and that other person's going to jump in. And then finally, it makes you more like a thoughtful observer rather than some anxious participant. So they don't know that you're taking a moment to collect your thoughts. They think you're really into them and really interested in what they have to say. for the introverts or for everybody, think about some low energy networking opportunities. You can comment on LinkedIn, or you can go on Discord and not just lurk. Don't just go on there and read. You actually can comment and have some conversations. And it feels a little lighter than dreaded networking, right? You can use your strengths as an introvert. And one suggestion I have is you can have a few questions or topics like in your pocket that you can pull out when you need to have a conversation with somebody. And I'm going to share a whole bunch here in a little bit. And you can use your active listening skills. Like, people really feel valued when they're actually being heard and listened to, right? And introverts are really good at that. So use these skills to your advantage. And also, you can have one-on-one interactions. You don't have to work a whole big room. You can start small. And you can start small like this guy's gonna start small, obviously. So what I want you to do is set a goal. A goal of, I'm going to do one outreach. I'm gonna reach out to one person and, sorry about that, build a relationship with them. You don't have to have spray and pray and have a whole bunch of interactions. You can work with just one person in building that relationship. And here's a little cheat. It could be somebody you already know. Like, maybe you just know them a little bit and you haven't talked to them for a while. You know, somebody you already know and have a connection with, and practice that, flexing that muscle of building out your network. Just remember that don't be worrying about making such a great impression on others, right? People love to talk about themselves. So ask them questions and let them go. That's a great way to network, and they don't even realize they're doing all the talking, right? So you can just ask and let them speak. Also, maybe you're not the introvert, like I'm an extrovert, but us extroverts need to bring our introvert friends into the conversation. So if you're introverts over here and they're not really saying much, say, hey, Alex, what do you think about what Joe said? You know, bring him in, because sometimes it's hard to enter a conversation. And just remember, when it comes to networking, everybody was a beginner once. So focus on progress and not perfection. All right, since we're in person today, woohoo! Who else is excited we're in person? Am I the only one? Yes, okay, here we go. I want to talk about some of the things that we can discuss. I know we're at the end of the day, so hopefully we maybe can use these after the conference, here at the music hour and the social hour, or whatever's happening, or even later online. I want you to practice some of these tactics. And who here has ever heard the question, what do you do as an icebreaker? Yeah? Heard it today? Yes. Well, I'm going to squash that question. I'm going to say that's not a great question. You know why? What if you just got laid off? What if you're not working? What if you're a student or you're transitioning from another job to this? It's a really awkward question to answer for some people. So let's not do it. I mean, we'll probably do it because we default to that. But let's think about some other questions that we could ask. Because what I really don't like about this question is it reduces people to their job. And there's way more interesting things to talk about than that. So I want to throw a bunch of other questions at you that you could be asking instead of that dreaded, what do you do question. Are you working on anything exciting these days? This is pretty cool, but there could be a lot of cool topics coming up around this. Do you have any vacations coming up? Any travel plans? Question for the group. Anyone here not local and traveled to come to this conference? Yeah, there's a lot of people, right? And what's so cool about the travel thing is maybe you've traveled to the same place. So there's an instant bond there. You can talk about that location, right? People love to talk about travel. So this is a fun one. How about AI? I don't know about you, but my conversations lately, they just always are slipping into AI. I don't know how it always just, oh, are you using AI? How are you using it? Anybody else finding a lot of your conversations like AI's coming up? Yeah, all the time. So ask it, it's okay. I really think it's good and healthy to talk about how are you actually using it. Everybody says you should use it, but How are you using it, and how is it working and not for you? All right, I've been talking a lot, so I want everybody to say this question with me, okay? We're gonna say this all out loud. Ready? Ready? What got you interested in UX in the first place? Now, if we were in a conversation, we wouldn't say it like that, because that's very robotic. I love a good origin story, right? So this is always fun to like, what got you in, and if you're not in UX, whatever the topic might be, right? What is something that has bad UX, but you love it anyways? Oh, people love to talk about bad UX because it's all over the place. It's what's keep us in a job. Do you have any interests that you're thinking about or doing, like side hustles or something like that? Loads of opportunity to connect and bond with somebody over some side hustle or some, even, it doesn't have to be a hustle, just any kind of interest, right? What's your biggest takeaway from the event today? What was your favorite session? I mean, obviously you're gonna tell them that this was your favorite session, right? Come on. As the front row speakers over here are coughing, but they're not up here telling you that you need to say my session was favorite, so there you go. So what I really like about these is they're just thinking in a different way, right? There's way more interesting things to talk about than what do you do. When you're having some of these conversations, I want you to tell stories, because stories flip your brain into movie mode. And movie mode is much more interesting, sharing the stories and pulling that person along. Because when that person listening to you is in movie mode, they're remembering your story and they're remembering you in more detail. And again, building a better bond and connection with that person when you're talking about things on a deeper level. All right, so here's an example. Can I tell you something about me? Can I tell you about my first time? Wait a minute, not that first time. Get your mind out of the gutter. No. I'm gonna tell you about the first time I did some on-site observation for research. I was working for an animal hospital. We were designing their software, and I wanted to see what the environment was like where the doctors are using the software. So I went to one of our animal hospitals. Now, keep in mind, I know there's a lot of doggos in this presentation now, but back then, the only pet I had ever had was a goldfish. I was really, really naive when it came to pets. So the vet and the office manager are taking me around the office, and they're showing me the different departments and the different parts of the hospital. And we're in this back room. This has like lots of tables and lots of things going on, and there's a dog laying there. We walked in on a dying dog. It's got tubes coming out of its mouth. Its eyes are open, and it's laying there on the table, just like here. Like it was a front lobby or something. I'm like, whoa, there's a dog laying over here. Should I have scrubs on? Should I have a mask on around this? And they're like, no. As long as you don't touch it, no problem. That's not happening. And I'm like, well, what is going on? They're like, oh, the dog's fine. He's just coming out of a dental. And I'm like, what? A dental? I'm like, yeah, what do you, again, goldfish owner here, know nothing about pets. He's just had his teeth cleaned. They're like, you understand that a dog cannot, when a human goes to the dentist just says, hey, open up, open wider. Can't tell that to a dog. First of all, they won't get it. Second of all, they'll bite your hand. So you have to knock them out to get their teeth cleaned. And this dog was just laying there coming out of anesthesia. Oh, I felt so dumb. Duh. Again, I didn't know what was going on. This was my first observation, but why I tell you that is hopefully you could kind of come along with me in that story. You were visualizing things. You were kind of, oh, I can picture this. I was in story mode and movie mode. Okay, you'll probably remember me as the dumb lady who didn't know what a dental was, and oh, that's fair. Remember me for whatever you want, but the whole idea was I wanted to bring you along in my story. And that's what I want you all to do too, is to tell interesting and engaging stories so that you are more memorable and you can be bonding on a deeper level with folks. Whew, okay, I gave you a lot. So if you don't like any of those questions that I threw at you, I'm going to give you a couple frameworks. Oh, somebody's alarm's going off. The first one is high, low, buffalo. Anybody heard of this framework? Couple? Oh, one guy back there. You're the only one? I hadn't heard of this either, and I thought this was a pretty cool one. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna share this with the group. Think of this as like, this would be better in a group setting if you're just kind of going around and introducing yourselves. So you say 3 things about yourself. You say hi, something good, positive, either about you or an event or something. The low is something negative or challenging. And the buffalo is something interesting or rare or unusual. Because, I don't know, maybe this is my theory that we don't see a lot of buffaloes, so that's why it's rare. So high, low, buffalo. So let me give you an example. My high is, I'll do it about this trip. My high is here, coming to this conference and meeting a lot of really cool folks, and hopefully afterwards meeting even more cool folks. So that's my high. My low is the government shutdown, which I didn't anticipate. I haven't been to DC in probably 20 years, so I was planning on knocking off 4 Smithsonian museums a day, because that's how I roll. I'm really fast. Now that's going to be limited because they're going to be shutting down. And my buffalo was when we were driving to the airport. I'm in Dallas. It was really early in the morning, and this car like turned too soon and totally ran over a sign. And then backed up and was like hitting the sign more and doing more damage to their car. What? I don't know. See how that works? High, low, buffalo. Next one, which, there we go, is Ford. And I think this is another one in a group setting when you're kind of going around and introducing yourself. Think of the framework of Ford. Ford, F stands for family. What's your family situation? You know, are you a parent? Are you a pet parent? You know, a little bit about you and your familial situation. Your occupation, don't make it the whole thing, but a part of it, like what do you do? Who are you? Recreation, what do you like to do for fun? What are you interested in? And then dreams, something that you're dreaming of or aspiring to do, or just something a little different. And I think of this a little bit as like a mini elevator pitch, you know? If everybody's going around and like stating their forward, you know the assignment, this is what you're saying about yourself, then you can follow up with questions. Oh, you dream of being a truck driver? Well, me too. Not really, but you know, who knows? Again, revealing some information about you so that it's a better way to bond and talk about more interesting things and find commonalities beyond just your job role. Ooh, okay. The benefit of having some of these kind of topics or frameworks or questions is so that you're just a little bit more prepared. And again, people love to talk about themselves, so let them have at it. Let them talk about themselves, giving them a little bit of a framework and a kickstarter for the conversation. Okay, we covered a lot, but I'm going to switch gears a little bit. And I want to talk about what I teased to earlier about sending DMs to other UX pros and what you should do and don't do. Again, who were the folks that said they've reached out to a stranger, sent a DM in LinkedIn? I mean, yeah, probably everybody. Those that are not raising your hand, you're either just tired or lying to me, but I think you have, which is okay. We've all done it. Now, raise your hand again. Keep your hand up. I'm sorry. Hello. I'm talking to all you. You who sent a DM, yeah, keep it up. Who didn't, if you heard back from that person every time? They always responded and set up time with you. Yeah. No, not every time, right? We've always had that kind of rejection. Maybe some people felt like a rejection. Maybe some people did respond, but some people don't, right? It just happens. And so I wanted to get some behind the scenes data, really understanding from fellow UX professionals, what would it take to get that person to respond to you and maybe even set up some time with you if that's what you're asking for. And so now I want to unlock that for you. Ugh, that word unlock. How AI is that word? I mean, I see that and I'm like, AI, it's like delve. Delve is the other telltale AI word. And I said I wasn't going to make this an AI talk, so next. All right. I did some research. Where are my researchers? Am I the only? No. There's some researchers. Yes, of course. Loads, right. I did some research, and I want you to know that this research was really fast, and it was. I reached out to about 60 UX pros in my network, sent them all a DM asking the same question, and I heard from 40 of them in 24 hours. Okay, so why am I telling you this? Well, one, to bust that goddamn myth that research takes too long. It doesn't have to take long. Research can be fast, folks. It's true. And two, the value of having a good network to reach out to when you need them. Sorry, it's not going. Woo. Here's some of the people I heard back from. Maybe you recognize some of these folks. You should, if you're paying attention today, because some of them are here. 24 hours, heard from a load of people. And here's my research question. Let me share what I did. Is I reached out to these folks, and I said, what, if anything, could that person who's sending you a DM, what could they write or what could they say that would entice you to actually set up some time with them? But before I go into what they said, I need you to think about something as you send these messages. I want you to understand who you're reaching out to. We're UX folks, right? We're supposed to have empathy. So I want you to keep a few things in mind when you're sending out these messages. Inboxes are flooded, time is finite, and relationships do matter. Attention is scarce. People don't have a lot of extra time. Who here just has infinite amount of extra time? No one's raising their hand, right? We all need to carefully balance our time. And some people I heard from said they really just need to prioritize work and family and things like that over, chatting on LinkedIn. Also, time is money. A lot of people who I reached out to, they own their own business. They're a consultant or a freelance, and they need to charge for their time. So when you ask for a meeting, you're asking for their time. And that is taking time away from their business and billable hours. And that's a big ask. And people have differing amounts of energy to devote to conversations. People need to think about their own capacity and their mental health. One person to me said, I can't give back if my cup is half empty. And you know what? Not everybody's up for chatting. It's nothing personal. They're just not. And socializing costs a lot of energy, especially for introverts. Now, I'm not saying this to make you upset or even deter you from sending messages at all. That's not what I want you to do. I just want you to consider what's happening on the other end of that message when you send it, and maybe you don't hear back. Okay, so let's dive into what they said. And because I'm the type of person who focuses on negative things, I can't help it, that's just how I roll. I'm gonna start off with the things that you should not say in a LinkedIn message. Well, any platform for that matter. But again, this is based on the data that the UX pros said to me. This is what they said, not just me. This is multiple sources of what people said. So they said don't ask for a job, a LinkedIn review, a referral to a job opening, especially if you don't know them. Don't ask for a resume review, and don't ask for mentorship, because that honestly requires building a relationship. And I'll talk a little bit more about the importance of building that relationship. And this is the things that they said they didn't like you to say. They don't like pick your brain. They don't like a virtual coffee, because coffee is a meeting, and a meeting is time. They don't want you to say just to chat, because again, some people are not looking for folks to chat with. Don't ask how you can get into UX or how I got into UX. My path to UX is very different than everyone else's in here, I promise you. And from the get-go, like from that initial reach out, don't ask for the 15-minute or the 30-minute, because you haven't established a relationship with them yet. And I mean, just do the math. If I have like 4 people ask me for 30 minutes, I can't do the math. It's too late in the day. But it's a lot of time, right? That's a lot of time that I'd be taking away from work, from family, and for some people that's billable time. And if you think, well, it's just me, it may not just be you. Some pros get multiple messages asking for their time. So they could be getting 2 or 3 a day, and that adds up really quickly. Okay, here's the things they said don't do. So don't ask about things that you can easily find out somewhere else through AI or Google. Easy questions. If you do have a meeting with them, don't flip and stand them up. Ooh, it's just not cool. And don't come unprepared if you do get a meeting. And what I mean by that is don't come without some questions to ask or some things that you want to learn about. Like you set up this meeting, you come with an agenda. Don't, whoops. Well, we'll come back to that, doggo. Don't try to sell them something. Don't be pushy. And obviously, don't hit on them. Do I even have to say that? Really? Folks, come on. I don't know. Okay, now you know what not to do. Let's talk about what you should do. So the pros that I asked, they want you to be clear about what your request is. Make sure this question is simple, direct, easy to answer, and be clear about your intentions. Also, have relevant requests. It's okay to have a small ask to start with. You know, don't ask for the world. And you shouldn't just be orbiting for self-gain. You know, like I said, don't ask for a job referral or a resume review. And I thought this was very insightful. That professional wants you to consider this. What have you done, the person sending the message, to find out the answer for yourself? Show that you put in a little bit of effort. Also, they said they want you to be specific. And it's okay to have a low effort ask at the beginning. Think about it this way. Instead of asking for time or something like that, ask about a topic and then let them decide if they want to write you back about it or if they're like, I want to hop on a call. Let them decide. So here's the topic I want some information about. Let them decide if it's worthy of a call or if they can just write you back. Sometimes they might just do a little recording and send it back, right? And make sure it goes beyond, tell me about your career. Again, my path into UX, it's not going to be helpful for you, I can promise you. So knowing what it is, you can't follow in my footsteps and get into UX the way I did. And after time, when you are in a position where you're asking for some time to meet with them, be specific. Let them know what kind of time frame you're looking for. And finally, give that person a little bit of context. Who are you? What's your past? Why are you interested in talking to them in the first place? So here's an example I liked. Amy Santis shared this with me. I'm applying for a couple of roles at ABC company on the XYZ team, or, you know, you get the gist. Would you be open to sharing your quick take on the culture there? Very specific request of information. And when you do frame your request is think about the person you're writing to and you're asking for them, their information, right? Don't make it just about you. Make it about them. Because flattery will get you everywhere. So here are some things that you can frame your DM to show that you know who the person is, you've done a little bit of research about them, and you are requesting info specifically from them. Because if you're spraying and praying and sending a bunch of generic messages, they're going to know, and they're going to ignore you. So do this instead. Pay them a compliment. Show you know something about their background, and explain why you're asking them, why you're choosing them to get some information from. Suggest how they can specifically help you. Make it easy for them to know what to say. And mention how impactful their work is, you know, if that's true, of course. Give them some genuine flattery. This one is a big one, and that's why I'm kind of sharing this toward the end. This is really important, and a lot of pros mention this, and I don't think that people are thinking about this very much. What's in it for them? when you're reaching out to them and asking for time, what's in it for them? And I've said it a few times, right? People's time is really valuable. When you are writing them, are you saying what's in it, how they will benefit from a conversation with you? Because paying for their time is not the only option. There's other things that you can show value, like you can share an article with them or some resource when you're reaching out to them. You can spark their curiosity. Had a few people say that. Be interesting. And again, maybe you share a little nugget. They were like, oh, what's going on here? You can show how the conversation would benefit them too. And you can offer something in return. So I like this. Joe Natoli shared this one with me. He said, I don't know what I can offer you in return, but I'm happy to do anything that I can to help you in exchange for your valuable time. Ultimately, to make a meaningful connection and maybe build a relationship with someone, you know, that other UX pro you've been wanting to learn from, it's not going to happen over one LinkedIn message. It really is about building a relationship. And so to make a connection, I want you to focus on a few things. Get them familiar with you. It builds a connection. And a great way to do this is comment and reshare their stuff from LinkedIn. Unless they've got 1 million followers, they're going to notice that. Also, show you have something in common. So this could be you both know the same person, maybe you live in the same town, maybe you went to the same school. Create a warm tie with that person. There's this guy, Jeremy Miller, you probably have heard of him because he's sitting right down here. He shared this with me. He said some guy noticed a Star Trek book, because when Jeremy does his podcast, Beyond UX Design, you see all his knickknacks and books. And he said somebody noticed some random Star Trek book on a shelf, and they had a conversation about it. That person found a warm tie, and that got Jeremy to talk to that person. For hours, Jeremy said. Talk for hours. And finally, I mentioned this a couple of times. If you really want a person's help and their guidance or their advice or whatever that might be, the data shows from these UX pros, you know, the ones that shared their perspective with me, is you want to build a relationship with that person. So if they give you some advice, follow up with them and tell them what happened. You know, going dark and not returning and letting them know, did that work or not? That's not a good way for engagement. And you can build a relationship by offering a gesture or, you know, showing some interest or appreciation for what they've shared with you. I mean, it's just as simple as treating humans like humans, right? Woo. Okay, we covered a lot. I talked about how to network. I talked about some tips for my introvert friends here, and how to break into LinkedIn DMs and what the pros say to do and not to do. And I mentioned, you know, the importance of building relationships. And I know you're probably going to forget almost everything I said, which is fine. You've covered a lot today in this conference, so I understand completely. But I have an ask of you. After today's conference, maybe today at the social mixer, after we break out here, or with someone you met today and you follow up with them later online, or maybe somebody you already know. I want you to share one thoughtful insight that you gained from today and reach out and share it to spark a conversation with somebody. And not just to spark a conversation, but to build a relationship with someone a bit further. Because you never know when you need to lean into your network and what that network, those build connections, how those might pay off for you in the future. That's it for me, folks.